All right, so much for a slow Monday. We have some trade news that has hit our feeds. Sam Darnold has been traded to the Jets. Let's go. There's plenty of implications here for the 49ers. We're not just talking league-wide news. Obviously, there's plenty of information that relates to the 49ers, how the situation plays out, and honestly fits perfectly for the San Francisco 49ers as we head into the draft come May. Um, Again, if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram Live, appreciate all of you guys as always. But I was hopping on here just to talk some some random, like, is it Fields, is it Mac Jones, whatever, standard talk that we got going. But it looks like we actually have some news to actually talk about. So as of right now, Sam Darnold is no longer a New York Jet. He is officially a Carolina Panther. Not only that, Carolina Panthers have already reported that they are picking up um, the fifth-year option of Sam Darnold. So that contract is already taken care of. They're already moving forward. That's likely the end of the Teddy Bridgewater era over there with Matt Rule and the Panthers. So it's going to be really, really interesting now because a lot of the talk going into this week and what have you was, could the Jets still potentially take maybe an offensive lineman? Could they take, Kyle Pitts at 2? Could this be a smokescreen? Could they be sticking with Sam Darnold? I think it's clear as day, obviously. Sam Darnold is no longer there, so they need a quarterback. They need someone to come in and be the future of the franchise, and all signs point to Zach Wilson. Urban Meyer basically came out and said Lawrence is a pick at 1. We understand, what. Yeah, Lawrence is going 1. That's no question. We've known that since the beginning of time, it feels like. So the next conversation was who's going at 2. And like I alluded to, there's been a lot of conversation pertaining to maybe the Jets move away from Wilson and stick with Sam and go into a different positional need. I didn't think any of us really bought that. And then as times progressed, the next step was Wilson had to do a medical recheck, which I believe either happened today or yesterday. I don't know the exact timeline, but it aligns with when this trade has gone through. So to me, that indicates the medical recheck was clear with Zach Wilson. The Jets feel confident with Zach Wilson. Therefore, they make the move. They move off Sam Darnold. And then another thing to take a step back, I'm just happy that Sam Darnold will never, at least for the next couple years, will not be connected to the 49ers ever again. That was a conversation. If you follow me on Instagram, you know full well, you guys on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook know a little bit about that too. But I just was not a Sam Darnold guy, wasn't a Sam Darnold guy pre-draft. And again, didn't want him anywhere near the red and gold. So I'm thrilled to see that he is no longer going to be discussed in our neck of the woods any longer. So I'm really excited. And Lewis from Facebook says Justin Fields at 3. That's kind of what it's looking like at this point. It's looking like that, with how the chips are stacking at this current point in time, is that it's going to be Lawrence 1 to the Jags, drop down to the Jets. I feel like the Jets just penciled in their pick with Zach Wilson at 2. And of course, that leaves 3 remaining quarterbacks available at 3, which would either be Justin Fields, Trey Lance, or Mac Jones. Honestly, you guys typically know how I lean. I feel like the door is now open for the 49ers to take Justin Fields at 3. I can make a case for Lance. I'm a big fan of Trey. I'm a big fan of his traits, his attributes, the scheme that he operated at North Dakota State. Trey brings a lot with him to the table, and I could definitely see that being the pick if it really was a scheme concern or issue. But then, of course, you have Mac Jones, who's been widely rumored to the 49ers at 3. It feels like if you are a national media pundit, you have received a text directly from Kyle saying that we're taking Mac Jones. At least that's what it seems like, because they are very confident that Mac Jones is going to be the pick at 3. If you follow this channel, you follow me, you follow the fans who interact with this page. It's a very select few who believe that is an actual possibility, to have Mac Jones there at 3. But hey, we look at everything. We got our aluminum tinfoil hats on. You know, it's smoke season, it's draft season. This is the fun stuff, man. This is the fun stuff. So now, again, it really feels like, based on this trade, it really feels like the arrow is pointing at Justin Fields. I've listened to enough people that I respect greatly, their opinions, and all who have working experience with Justin Fields. Some even have working experience with Kyle Shanahan. So at that point, I feel really confident. And, you guys know I've been confident with Justin Fields throughout this entire process. But I'm going to double down and say I really feel like that pick is there for the 49ers at 3, and it's going to be Justin Fields. We got some. I've seen some of these comments rolling in. We got Spy Nick Dangers praying for Mond at 3. I think. I don't know. We're not on that Mond train. We're going to let Mond go off into his, second, third round range. We're not going to even discuss Mond. So I'm glad that we don't have to do that. That is a lot of fun. But it's getting spicy around here. It's getting really spicy. So again, this next month or 3 weeks now, you can see the narrative changes day to day. A new source, anonymous source, comes out, says this. A new anonymous source says this. We heard today from NBC Sports Bay Area that Kyle Shanahan has not even divulged his evaluations to his coaching assistants. Now, take that for what it's worth. Is that could be just some, more headlines. But at the end of the day, Kyle is a gamer. Kyle is a smoke season veteran. Kyle is going to manipulate the media. He's going to manipulate the narrative, and he's going to manipulate the perception any way possible to help him be successful. I think we've seen that last year, how he managed the draft. We're seeing it this year in how he managed the draft. They're experts at this point. So I'm along for the ride. I'm having a lot of fun. And if you guys, so obviously we're streaming from multiple places. I'll try and get everyone wrapped up in here. But if you want to start asking some questions, go ahead. You guys are way too fast in the chat over here on IG. But I'll try and do my best to work my way through if you guys have questions. But again, it's just really exciting because, to me, the trade with Sam Darnold to the Carolina Panthers indicates that they being the Jets, will be selecting Zach Wilson, number 2 overall. Steve Young came out and said that last week, essentially. Obviously, Steve Young is a BYU legend, a 49ers legend. Steve Young is tapped in. He's also works for national media, so he has every connection imaginable. He went on KNBR last week to discuss how he even went as far to say Zach Wilson was number 1 on the 49ers board, which I thought was interesting. But he did say that Zach Wilson is basically wrapped up and ready to go to the Jets, and that was as of last week. He even mentioned that the Jets are recruiting his family and doing things of that nature. And so now we fast forward to today. Sam Darnold is no longer there. The Jets need a quarterback, and it is really looking like that will be Zach Wilson. So here we are about 3 weeks away from the draft. It really does feel like the first 2 picks are locked in. Now the fun part comes for the 49ers because, again, this is where all the speculation will continue to run rampant. We'll continue to talk about this nonstop ad nauseum until the draft. And I don't think Kyle will tip his hand, honestly. I even think if the Jets came out and said, we are taking Zach Wilson at 3, I still don't feel like Kyle would come out and say, "Oh, well, in that case, we're taking Wilson." I think Kyle is relishing his chance to kind of have the upper hand on the media at this point, and I don't think he's going to play it. He's not going to show us where he's putting his chips. He's going to let us keep guessing, let us keep talking, let us keep arguing, which is perfect for me and other content creators. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And so here's a good question from Raymond on Facebook. He said, "What makes you so confident that it will be Fields?" And honestly, like I had mentioned earlier, after doing my digging, finding people who have working experience with both Kyle and Justin Fields, as well as going back and doing the research to ensure I understand how his coaches feel about him, how his the players that he played with feel about him, even as up to understanding the coach that he's working with right now, preparing for the draft. All of them have not one bad thing to say about his work ethic, his personality, his character, his integrity, and who he is as a person. So for me, that is huge when evaluating quarterback. And, we're talking about Sam Darnold. It's a huge reason why I was low on Sam Darnold. I didn't think he had the character. I didn't think he had the integrity. I didn't think he had the poise and presence that you need to have to be an NFL quarterback in the NFL. Obviously, being a quarterback in the NFL is so much more than just throwing the football and being talented. You have to be able to deal with adversity. You have to be able to understand these complex playbooks, schemes, defenses. You have to know what every single person is doing, and then you do your job. There's a lot that goes along with being a quarterback that is much more than just throwing the football. And if we're going to look at Sam Darnold for a second, Sam Darnold, you can make the case, is arguably one of the best throwers of the football in the NFL. His arm talent is fantastic. Sam Darnold's arm talent is legitimately really, really strong and really, really good. But when it comes to putting the whole package together, again, you saw the misreads, the poor decision making, all of those things were in college. They followed him to the NFL. Unfortunately, he didn't land in a spot that needed to kind of bring him along and nurture him. So you see, he just got traded for a 6th-round pick, a 2nd and a 4th, I believe, in 2022. That's not a lot for a former 4th-round pick who's only, or 4th overall pick, who's only 23 years old. So clearly those issues have persisted. And I look at Justin Fields and I look at a guy who doesn't have those issues. If anything, he grades higher. He grades in those kind of categories as high as I had Deshaun Watson graded. A really big reason why I was big on Deshaun was because I felt like he was adversity proof. Obviously, we understand what's going on with him now. We're not talking about that. But in regards to playing football, Deshaun Watson was on another level in regards to intangibles, mental attributes, all of those kinds of things, being a leader. I see a lot of those similarities in Justin Fields. And I think Kyle wants that in a quarterback. I think he wants a guy who's going to come in and command the locker room, command the offense, take ownership of the offense. And I really feel like Fields can do that. And he's built that way. He's wired that way. And so that's really one of the, and I haven't even mentioned Fields' talent once yet. And so with that being said, you add the talent on top of the mental intangibles that he brings to the table and what he went through last year. Again, that's nothing against Trey Lance. Trey Lance, unfortunately, didn't have a 2020. And so we weren't able to see Trey Lance fight through adversity. We weren't able to see Trey Lance fight through broken ribs. We weren't able to see Trey Lance, dismantle Clemson. We weren't able to see any of that. So that's, again, it's not a knock on Trey. It's just the unfortunate reality that Trey is fighting. Whereas Justin Fields has answered those questions, at least in my opinion. So for me, that's how I see it. I've been high on I've been high on Justin Fields since last season. I've been high on Trey as well. But when you're looking at the skill set, again, you can't just scout quarterbacks from an arm talent perspective, from how good they throw the football. You have to really be able to scout who they are as a person out of any other position in football, because that position is really what changes the entire dynamic of your football team from a mentality standpoint, from an energy standpoint, all of that. So that's why I put a lot of emphasis into Justin Fields off-field scouting, and that's why I don't understand it when the negatives come against him. So Niners report jumping on YouTube telling me to check the 49ers tweet from 3 minutes ago. So let's take a look. Obviously, I've been over here talking with you guys. So let me see what that's about. Hold on a second. So 49ers tweeted something. Let's see. But anyways, it's fun. Like I said, it's a lot of fun. They treated 49ers they tweeted mock draft Monday with a picture of Justin Fields on the top. We like it. We love it. We want some more of it. So that's all good stuff. Man, there are so many questions everywhere. This is quite the balancing act. So I just talked about Fields. So someone from IG has asked me what I feel about Lance. So again, I'm another guy who's been high on Lance, more so than a lot of people for most of the offseason. Obviously, a lot of the narrative has changed since the 49ers went up and made the pick. But one of the things going into Trey Lance's tape was that I kind of felt like he was a gimmick guy. Again, not knowing who he was, not having studied his tape. I went into Trey Lance expecting to see a gimmicky guy because, of course, I've seen the highlights. I've seen the powerful running. I swear the dude is like Derrick Henry from the quarterback position when it comes to running. He will lower his shoulder and run you the heck over. So I saw the highlights, but going into the tape, I was a little weary of what I was going to come away and see. But I was pleasantly surprised, and very surprised at that, because when you watch Trey and what he operates, you're looking at very similar scheme and philosophy to what Kyle Shanahan executes yes. very similar to what Kyle Shanahan executes with the 49ers. A lot of bootleg, play action, a lot of that stuff. So when you're watching Trey, you're like, you can actually see almost right away how he would be a great fit for Kyle and what he does, because that's what we execute. We execute a lot of play action. The quarterback in the 49er scheme has to be able to be comfortable turning their back to the defense. That just has to happen. So when you watch Trey Lance and you see like, oh, the big knock on him is he only throws 19 times a game. Well, look at the 49ers and how they operated in 2019. Jimmy Garoppolo was putting up similar passing attempts and numbers with the 49ers and led the team to 13-3 and to the Super Bowl. So you can make a lot of correlations with Trey Lance. I have had the opportunity to speak with some people who have been training with Trey since October, because there were things that I saw on tape, at least from a scheme perspective. Trey Lance made me feel really comfortable. He made me feel really comfortable that he'd be able to come in day one in Kyle's scheme and do exactly what's asked of him. Whereas before, I was very concerned about that, especially playing at a lower level. But the fact that he ran a lot of the same schemes and philosophies that Kyle implements and executes on a regular basis made me feel really comfortable with him. And then you start to dive into the mechanics, you start to dive into the processing, things like that. For the most part, Trey Lance, from a mechanic standpoint, is pretty legit. Like there are definitely some things that you could see on tape, which is actually what prompted me to reach out to one of his trainers to ask, because I was genuinely interested. And his trainer provided me with some great insight. Also reiterated to me how much North Dakota State coaches put on Trey Lance in regards to pre-snap reads and pre-snap alignments and all those kinds of things. So Trey Lance was responsible for a lot, similarly to what Kyle would ask of his quarterback within his scheme, in regards to making sure protections were on point, making sure that they were reading and keying on defenses correctly. Trey Lance did a lot of that in college. So a lot of what Trey was working on was just cleaning up the mechanics. And he did. If you looked at his pro day and you looked at some of his throws throughout this process, Trey Lance is legitimate. Trey Lance, like, that's why Trey at 3, if Kyle genuinely wanted to go that route and say, we're going to go Trey Lance at pick 3, I could understand it. I could wrap my head around it, because I could make the case for you right now that Trey Lance is more ready to come out and run Kyle's scheme than Justin Fields is ready to come out and run Kyle's scheme, because Trey actually did it in college, whereas Justin Fields was primarily out of shotgun. Ohio State's offense is interesting, for lack of a better word. So you can make the argument that Trey Lance is a good fit for Kyle and could potentially fit better as a day one prospect, just because he has operated those different, or those same schemes that Kyle has. So again, I like Trey, but I can't scout I can't scout Trey and how he handles adversity. I can't scout Trey and how he handles an entire season of every national reporter telling him that he's not that good, and then answering those questions in live game reps. I don't have that at my disposal. So again, that changes my evaluation of Trey. Now, everything I've heard from Trey from a character standpoint, his character's on point. He's built the right way. His mentality is there to be able to transfer to the next level and be successful. Like, everything I've heard about Trey Lance is legitimate. So I don't really have that many concerns on Trey. For me personally, with everything I watched last year with Justin Fields, everything I've rewatched, everything I continue to learn daily, because I'm hunting. I want to make sure that I'm doing you guys proper justice by what I'm saying. And let's go. Hey, I appreciate everyone on YouTube. Again, we just got a sub from Bryce. Thank you, Bryce. We're really going to be picking up this YouTube a lot. So if you guys want to throw me a sub, your boy would really appreciate it, because we're about to pick up, because this draft season, it's lit right now. We got so many different things going on. But again, I appreciate everyone who's supporting. And again, keep asking your questions. I'm filtering through 2 different chats right now, so it is a bit of a task. But again, appreciate everyone who's tuning in. Oh, of course, look at media. Always. Oh, Nina. Good looking, Nina. We appreciate you for subscribing to the channel. You guys are making me happy. I'm going to cry a little bit here if you keep this up. Oh, man, if you could get me to 1,000 by the end of this live, that would be legendary. We're close. We're really, really close. We're not far away. So if you guys want to just make my day, that would be fantastic. I appreciate you guys. What's up, Kyle? Thank you for hopping in. Oh, we got another sub. Let's go. I need like a sub whistle or something, like a choo choo. Let's go. I appreciate you guys. What's up, Rich? So again, only 3 more till 900. Okay, we're getting up there. So again, we're at 902 now. Oh my gosh, you guys. What would I do without you guys? God, you guys are awesome. I appreciate you guys a lot. So like I said, I was actually just hopping on here just to talk number 3 overall pick with you guys. But the Jets decided to trade Sam Darnold right before I was going to get on. So that made things a little spicy. I appreciate them doing that. That was nice. Man, you guys are putting my numbers up. Oh, we appreciate you guys. Dang, you guys have got me gassed up right now. Let's go. It says I'm at 917 now. Oh, look at Lewis. Oh, hey, if we get to 1K by this live is over, I don't know. We're doing something. I don't know. I don't know what's happening, but we're going to do something, because that's legitimate. That's awesome, guys. I appreciate this. You guys are awesome. Let's go, Raymond. Let's go. Sourdough Brad in the building. If you guys don't know, if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube watching me for the first time, you're on Twitter, over here in IG land, you can see my phone right here. So we're live on IG. I have a million nicknames now. You call me Sourdough Brad. So there's one of them, right? Sourdough Brad, Big Red, Ginger Beard Gang, whatever your heart desires, just throw it my way. We'll take it and we'll run with it. So again, I appreciate for everyone. On IG, they're asking me. It's the same thing. SF Niners across all platforms. So I appreciate it. All right. I'm supposed to be talking about football. You guys got me all hyped up on subs right now. Oh my goodness. I can't handle this. I can't handle this. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. Oh, here's a new one. There we go. We got a new nickname in the chat. Let's go. Ooh, okay. So we have some stuff coming out in real time. ESPN draft analyst Todd McShay believes Trey Lance is the perfect fit at QB for the 49ers. Okay. So, again, we just had some news drop. And, of course, what are we doing now? You know, we're already, excuse me, woo! We're back to talking about who the 49ers are taking at number 3. Let's go. 9:30 happens fast. Of course, they're already again switching back to who Kyle Shanahan is taking at pick 3. Todd McShay, draft analyst, senior draft analyst for ESPN. He's saying Trey Lance is the best fit. And we actually just got done talking about this, right? We just got talking about Trey Lance, and now I can make you the argument. I can make you the argument from a schematic standpoint that Trey Lance is a better fit for Kyle's scheme than Justin Fields. But that's only one part of the evaluation. That's only one part. That doesn't mean that Justin Fields can't come in and learn the scheme, can't come in and learn to play under center, can't come in and learn how to be more consistent with play action. Those things can happen. It doesn't mean he can't do it. But to the point of what Todd McShay is saying, is that Trey Lance, from a schematic standpoint, fits Kyle's scheme. I would say that too. He fits it a little better because of what Trey Lance did at North Dakota State. It's the same kind of conversation that they're having around Mac Jones fitting Kyle Shanahan a little bit better based on the scheme that he ran. Scheme is very important. Scheme is something that I always take heavily into account. You know, you go back to other prospects like Paxton Lynch. I don't know if you guys remember Paxton Lynch. You look at his efficiency numbers, they were off the charts. You look at his actual throwing charts, he didn't throw passes past 10 yards. Like, he really didn't. So you have to be able to put everything into context. But with Trey Lance, he's going to come in, be able to execute play action right away. There won't be a learning curve. He won't have to learn how to take snaps from under center. Those things won't happen. That won't happen. With Justin Fields, there will be a curve. There will be a bit of a learning process. Obviously, that's what he's training now. He's training, I guarantee you, he is working out with his quarterback coaches, and they are training everything from under center. Everything. So it's not like he's going to come in like a fish out of water, but it is something to say, like, when you're not executing that play in, play out in real game time situations, there's experience that comes along with that, where Trey does have. So that's where you have to really be specific with what you're saying about these prospects and what the actual context means behind what you are saying. Oh yeah, when we get the games going, we're going to be doing all kinds of film breakdowns. Eventually, we're going to get film breakdowns of some prospects on YouTube. So make sure you come through for those. That's going to be a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys hopping in. I hope I get to 1K too. That would be a lot of fun. So here's something Raymond says: I don't see why Niners would consider Mac 2 DUIs while at Alabama. That should say it all. So this is the thing with the 2 DUIs thing with Mac Jones. I've honestly done my research and I can only find one. I haven't found the second one yet. Everything that I can find points to Mac Jones having a DUI at the age of 19 while at Alabama. He actually was in a car accident that affected another vehicle. I guess he crashed into it in an intersection or what have you at that, underage drinking, 19, Alabama quarterback, all that kind of crazy stuff. Obviously, it doesn't get brought up a bunch, and there's a narrative that he has 2. I haven't personally been able to find the second one. I can only find the first one. But it isn't being talked about. We're only talking about it right now because Raymond brought it up. But if you guys remember, when Dak Prescott was coming out, he unfortunately had a DUI right before the draft. So that got big time overblown, big time media press. Felt like that's all they were talking about was Dak Prescott and his DUI. They didn't let that thing go, and they made sure to bring it up time and time again. I think part of the reason why Dak Prescott fell to the fourth round and landed in the Cowboys' lap after Trent Baalke decided to pick Rashard Robinson so that Dak could go to the Cowboys 2 picks later, but that's beside the point. I don't want to get my old Trent Baalke PTSD all worked up or anything. But yeah, no one's pointing to that as an issue. I don't know. It's weird. And again, like I've said, I've gone out of my way. I've gone out of my way to find people who have worked directly with Justin Fields, and everything that I hear out of all of their mouths is extremely positive. You're hearing words like alpha. You're hearing words like leader. You're hearing words like continuously wanting to get better, continuously working. Like, you hear those kinds of things from Justin Fields and the people that he's actually working with all the time. So again, the narrative that seemingly follows him around, which started while he was still playing at Ohio State, he had a bad rap while playing, and while he was dicing up defenses, still they're coming after him. But again, that plays into part of my evaluation on him. He's been through the fire and he's came out on top time and time again. I bet on those kinds of players. I want a guy that can have the entire media world, social media world, football world, like raining down on you, telling you you're this, you're that, you're bad, you're not good, you can't do this, you can't do that, to then just come out against Clemson and obliterate Clemson. Like this, he didn't obliterate Coastal Carolina. He obliterated Clemson on their way to the national championship game, which he played, in my opinion, extremely well in that game as well. They just didn't win the game. So again, Fields has answered the question for me every step of the way. Anytime it's been questioned, I've gone back, hunted, found, again, reliable, credible resources to basically say that is not the case and that is not true. And they all lean Fields. So again, it just makes me more confident in the way I go about sticking up for Fields and sticking with Fields. And again, if you guys are new to my coverage of draft season, because I'm not a scout, because I'm not employed by an NFL team, because I have no ties to any outside stakeholders at the current time, I scout emotionally, which you shouldn't technically do. I would say if you have an aspiration of going into scouting, you typically don't want to scout emotionally, but I'm a fan at the end of the day. So I like to bring that narrative into my scouting. So I scout emotionally. I find my guys. If you're my guy, I'm backing you up till the end of time. Justin Fields is my guy. I had to defend him back during the season when he was going through it, and I'm here to defend him again. And that's why I call my draft crushes my sons, because, you know, I'm a father. I got 3 kids. I know what it's like to defend your children, you know, to the max, like, and want the best for them and their best interest in mind. That's how I go about scouting my guys. Like, my guys become my sons. I become fans of them, regardless of what team they end up. Some of my favorite players are not on the San Francisco 49ers. They are on other teams because I fell in love with them during the draft process, and they went on to be successful with other franchises. But I scout emotionally because I'm invested. I'm invested in these guys' success. I truly want to see them be successful at the next level. And especially when people start cutting them down, it makes me feel like, all right, I got to stand up and be like, this is why you're in the wrong for trying to cut these people down. This, you know, like, On my IG Live, if you're with me on IG, you know Brian Burns from Carolina. That's a firstborn. That's my firstborn blood son. To the point where I've been able to develop relationships with these guys. Like, Brian Burns is, a homie, like because of what we went through through the pre-draft process, what he went through the pre-draft process. So that's just, again, a peel back at the way I look at prospects, because they're even over here on YouTube too. Brian Burns is Brad's son. That's my son. It's the truth. That's just how it works. That's how we operate. Again, if I'm scouting for an NFL team, there's no emotion. You can't be emotional, because you have to be on point with what you're scouting. But I don't have that. I don't have to do that. I can be a fan. I can still put my scouting hat on. I can still put my GM cap on, and I could put my fan cap on top of that. So that's what we do. We have fun with it. So Justin Fields, that's my son. That's my boy. Like, that's my little kid. We're bouncing him on my lap, all that kind of stuff. Like, we would have just went and hunted for Easter eggs together. Like, I love Justin Fields. Justin Fields is my son, and that's fine. And I will defend him like that. That's why you see some of the animosity that comes from the I would call it slander. To me, it's slander at this point. The slander surrounding Justin Fields. So, yeah, that's how I roll. I saw the Niners' recent tweet. It looked like they posted a mock draft with Fields. I didn't see anything that was too crazy. You guys are wild. I'm trying to do my best to read comments from both chats. Let's see. I mean, this is an interesting comment. I'll read it out loud. So Dave on YouTube says, honestly, I would pick an offensive weapon that can be a star, like, Jamar Chase, Penny Sewell, Devonta Smith. As a coach, no matter what the rest said, you can grab a star and have immediate impact. Well, this is my thing. It doesn't necessarily benefit you or your team to select a wide receiver, to select an offensive lineman, if you don't truly believe in your quarterback. If you don't believe that your quarterback can take you to that next level, and or just be healthy enough to be available for 16, well, now it's 17 game seasons plus the playoff run. If you don't inherently believe that, which I think it's clear as day, the 49ers don't believe that. Hence why they moved to 3, trade 3 first-round picks plus a compensatory third in 2022. You're moving up to 3 to grab a quarterback. You're not moving up to grab a wide receiver or an offensive lineman. I can find you a starting offensive lineman in the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round. I can do that based on positional value. In regards to wide receiver, yeah, those 2 guys that are mentioned, Jamar Chase and Devonta Smith, are blue chip wide receivers. But I think that if there's anything that we've noticed, Kyle Shanahan can get production out of guys who aren't considered blue chips. Brandon Ayuk was not considered blue chip coming out of ASU. You look at Deebo Samuel. He was a 2nd round pick. He was not considered blue chip coming out of his class. So those are positions that you can gain starting quality players that you don't have to take at 3. But when you look at the quarterback position and you are toying with this idea of taking truly the best player available, and even if you think that is wide receiver, if you don't have a quarterback or whatever to get him the ball, you're not going to find that quarterback in pick 2 or round 2 or round 3 or round 4. And if you do, it's rare. Dak Prescott's are everywhere. Russell Wilson's aren't everywhere. If anything, it's you get the opposite effect. So if you have a guy sitting there in the top 3 that is a quarterback that you know has the opportunity to be a franchise changer for the next 8 to 15 years, that's what you do. So, I mean, I understand the thought process, but you got to go quarterback. There's no way you don't go quarterback. Shanahan got the absolute most out of Julio when he was with Atlanta. I absolutely agree. But now what I think you're going to see is a player like Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, if they are given the ability to have a quarterback that, and again, it's the quarterback and coach together. They have to be on the same page. They have to be the quarterback has to execute what Kyle lays out for him to execute. And if he doesn't, it doesn't matter at a certain point who is your quarterback. Or I'm sorry, who is your wide receivers? Because if your quarterback isn't making his reads, your quarterback isn't hitting his timing, or your offensive line isn't blocking long enough, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you're not going to get the input or output that you want from your team. So I don't know. I understand the thought process, but in a quarterback-driven league, in a draft class where we're seeing 5 guys, like we'll talk mess about Mac Jones, but I will give Mac Jones his credit where it's due. Mac Jones is probably the best processor, pre-snap, post-snap in this class, and that goes a long way. That goes a very long way into being a productive NFL quarterback. He's pretty darn efficient by making sure that he doesn't turn over the ball. He can make almost every throw. I was watching a game against Kentucky last night or 2 nights ago because I was scouting some defenders, and Mac Jones made some plays. All right. Like Mac Jones made some good throws in some tight windows, and you can see he's capable. He's more than capable. It's just, again, when we get to the conversation at 3, then everything changes. Then that whole dynamic of Fields, Trey, Mac all changes because, again, we're not scouting for right now. We're not scouting for next year. With quarterbacks, you're scouting 10 years out. Like, look at the Jets. Look at what they just ran through. They're year 4 of Sam Darnold and already traded him for less than what it took to draft him. So they just took an L. They just took a big loss on that investment in Sam Darnold by selecting him number 4 overall. I believe it was in the 2018 draft. So you have to be able to project out and make sure that the guy you're getting fits and will be there for years to come. Otherwise, it's a massive swing and a miss. Just like the Jets. The Jets are so lucky to be picking number 2. The Jets are so lucky to be picking number 2 and have the ability to move off Sam Darnold. For them, it worked out perfectly. They were able to get out of the Sam Darnold business and literally get one of the best quarterbacks coming out of this class. Good for them. They landed in a good spot, and they're going to be set up now with LaFleur and Saleh to be able to take over the football ops side of things, at least from a coaching standpoint, and get a quarterback they want, build up a team they want the right way. So they're in a good spot. Carolina Panthers, they were on the outside looking in. They had to make a decision. because clearly Teddy Bridgewater wasn't in their plans for the future. And so they were desperate, honestly. And so they had to make a move. They get Sam Darnold. They get him for a 6th-round pick this year, a 2nd and a 4th in 2022. It's about right for Sam Darnold, honestly. It's about right. I would have been, if that was my franchise, I would have been much happier if they didn't give up the 2nd. But I understand it because, again, you're trading for the potential. You're trading for the future. You're trading with quarterbacks. You have to look at it from multiple years out. It's not just, can he produce for me for these next 2 years? You really have to understand what it's going to look like multiple years in advance. So one of my guys on IG is saying, don't forget Jones easily had one of the greatest college football teams in the past 20 years. The offense demanded so little out of him. I mean, there's a point to that. And again, that plays into my Fields eval. You know, with Fields, I really relished watching Fields not have his starting center and other 2 starting offensive linemen, because you got to see what Fields looked like when everything was going wrong. You got to see what happened snap after snap with a brand new center where the ball is everywhere. And he's still having to keep his eyes on the defense, still be able to execute his RPOs, still be able to do everything he needs to do with the ball literally everywhere other than where it should be. And I saw a guy fight through it, not make excuses, not have bad body language, and continue to fight and fight and fight. That's what you want. That's what you want, guys. You want guys that have that warrior mentality, that aren't going to make excuses because you're missing more than half your offensive line due to COVID, and there's nothing you can do about it. You just go out and you play your game. Whereas Mac Jones, for the most part, you're playing with arguably one of the best offensive lines, in college football. Landon Dickerson, I know he had a leg injury at one point in the season, but he is one of my favorite offensive linemen coming out of this class. You had Leatherwood at left tackle. You had Deontay Brown at left guard. They're studs across the board for Alabama. Plus, literally he's playing with nothing but blue chippers. Najee Harris at running back, Devontae Smith, Waddle. You even go back to the year before with Jerry Jeudy and Ruggs. Max had a legit setup. He's literally been driving a Ferrari. And that's why, again, I go back to Fields, and you look at what Fields went through at a certain point. Nothing against Acuras or anything, but Fields was driving Acura at one point and still making it work. So I've seen what he can do with less. And again, just makes me like him more. Makes me like him more. And we have, so perfect. Thank you. So back on Facebook. On Facebook, we have back-to-back comments. One is Fields will be a bust. And then Devin asks, does the fact that Ohio State quarterbacks don't work out in the NFL bother you? No, it doesn't, because honestly, if that's how you're scouting players, you probably shouldn't be in the business of scouting or evaluating players. If you were to say, that Jerry Rice kid, he's nice, but we've never seen anyone good come out of Mississippi Valley State. So, nah, we don't want him. Oh, no, we don't want him. Oh, Steve Young, BYU? Who's came out of BYU since before Steve Young? No one was good before Steve Young. So why would Steve Young be any good? Again, you can't have that thought process. You have to scout the player. You cannot scout the school, because I scouted Dwayne Haskins. He was trash. He was not good coming out. And I'd be the first to tell you he was not good coming out. Terrell Pryor, same thing. Oh, Terrell, are you going to be a wide receiver? Or what are you going to be in the NFL? We don't even know. You haven't even entered the draft yet. Cardell Jones. We knew Cardell Jones wasn't any good. But that has nothing to do with Justin Fields. Literally has not a single thing to do with Justin Fields. If you want to scout the school, you're scouting the scheme at that point. But some legacy situation where you're tying the previous players that came before him and somehow using that as your evaluation to evaluate a player, you're going to get that wrong 100 times out of 100 times. I would highly suggest against that, because, again, they're not twins. They're not the same person. So why are we associating that with these players? It's just not how it works. Braxton Miller. Forgot Braxton Miller. Loved Braxton Miller. Thought he was going to be a legit wide receiver for the Texans. I thought he was going to be a legit wide receiver for the Texans. Justin Fields is not a wide receiver. Justin Fields is arguably the best quarterback in this class that happens to feature Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson. So again, it's just if you come across anyone, I'm talking about anyone. I'm talking about national media. I'm talking about people who get paid for a living to do this kind of stuff. If one of the first thing that they say is, well, X player is probably not going to be that good because he came from X school. No, that's not what scouting is. Scouting is finding the outliers. Scouting is being able to weed through the BS to be able to understand who these players are and understand that every single player is different. Every single player is different right now, before them, and in the future. So you have to scout the player in a vacuum. You cannot allow other perceptions to basically almost poison your thought process at that point, because it just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. You guys are asking some funny questions. But again, all kinds of stuff going down. Are we sure Trevor goes number 1? I think so. I'm pretty sure Urban Meyer just came out and said something about how Lawrence is a guy. I'm pretty sure he came out and said that recently. So, and again, someone's chiming in on Instagram saying Mac Jones isn't bad. No, he's not bad. That's why he's being discussed about at pick 3. Do I think he's deserving of being there at pick 3? No, I don't. But that doesn't then automatically correlate into Mac Jones being bad. Mac Jones is a good player. Mac Jones has been very successful in an NFL-style scheme. Like Sarkisian, the offensive coordinator for Alabama, he copied a lot of what Kyle Shanahan did. I can even pull up a play where the 49ers scored against the Saints. It was Ayuk doing one of his motions, and then when he got past the center, he motioned like he was coming back, and then went back again, went out into the flat. It was a walk-in touchdown from Nick Mullins to Brandon Ayuk. There was the exact same play. I'm talking literally the exact same play, except it was ran with Mac Jones and Devontae Smith. Same thing, walk-in touchdown. So there are plenty of similarities, and how you could see how Mac Jones would transfer and transfer well to the scheme. But it's just, you again have to look long term. You have to be able to extrapolate what you really want out of your future franchise quarterback. Do you want a guy who can come in and win now, activate your offense right now, but likely have a capped ceiling over the next 3, 4, 5 years? Or would you like a guy who's maybe a rung below in regards to the pro ready comparison, but has a ceiling that almost triples the other guy's quarterback or the other quarterback? And for me, and just how I view it, I'm if I'm Kyle, I think I can maximize anyone's talent. You get any quarterback in my room, I'm going to make them play to the best of their ability. So when the best of Mac's ability is here and the best of Fields' ability is here, I'm going to go with Fields, even if that means Mac Jones is more ready to play now. That's not what I'm worried about. I'm not worried about who's ready to play now. I'm worried about who's going to be playing well for me in the future. That's what I'm worried about. So again, Mac's not a bad quarterback. He's not at all. I was actually mentally preparing for the 49ers to take him at 12 when we were still down there. So I'm just glad I don't have to do that anymore. And that's why I don't think he's going to be the pick. I don't think he is. So I'm going to do a couple more questions. Again, I appreciate everyone tuning in on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We were going up on some subs there for a second. I don't know what the current subs are at, but we did like 40 subs in like 30 seconds. That was pretty legit. If anyone wants to give me a subscription update, I will take it on YouTube, because that was pretty fun to watch there for a second. Hey, glad to have you back, Wes. I didn't do anything, man. You're just there. So like I said, we're at 952. Let's go. So the goal was to get to 1,000 subs. 951. The goal was to get to 1,000 subs on YouTube by the end of the live. We got close though. I think we're plus 70 or so since we hopped on. So that's pretty awesome. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to ask one question from YouTube, Facebook, and then I'll answer one question from IG Live. So let me hunt IG Live real quick for the question. Ooh, this is a good one. If my guy Jordan was on, he would be perfect person to talk about this. But the question is, would I like Elijah Moore in the second round if he's still there? And absolutely. Elijah Moore is someone that I came on to the process late. My guy Jordan put me on. He's been bullish on how much he likes Elijah Moore. And again, with Elijah Moore, he's like 5'9", so he's not the biggest guy in the world. But you turn on the tape and you realize right away, like, he's legit, like a legit wide receiver that could play X, Y, or Z. Even though he's 5'9" or height challenged, or however you want to say it, his route running ability is fantastic. His ability to get in and out of his breaks and set up DBs is legit. He's also a fantastic catcher of the football, can literally high point, can make insane catches constantly. I remember one play that stood out specifically. I think it was against Alabama. It was like a deep in, and the quarterback threw the ball kind of behind and at his feet, and it was a really difficult ball to catch. But Elijah Moore not only caught it, but was able to maintain stride and then immediately juke someone right after that. And I was like, whoa, okay. Like, that's special skill right there. So Elijah Moore is fantastic. If he was available in the second round at pick 43, I would love it, because I really think the 49ers should be hunting for that wide receiver 3. There's a specific wide receiver 3 archetype that I'm looking for, which Elijah Mould fits. I want a guy who's very fast, shifty, nimble, can play multiple positions. So Elijah fits that. And Elijah is a true wide receiver. He's someone I'm going to be targeting in dynasty leagues and things like that. I really like him. But at this point, I'm not sure he falls. I'm not sure he falls that far. He could be a first rounder. He could actually go in the first round. But that's the benefit, is that there's plenty of wide receivers in this class that fit that mold. Amari Rogers, Demetric Felton, Shi Smith, Dwayne Eskridge. The list goes on and on and on of guys who can fit that mold. Someone mentioned it, Jalen Darden. Jalen Darden would be a great fit. So that would be legit. So that's my one question from IG. Does anyone over here in YouTube land want to ask? Oh, here's one. So from YouTube, Devin says, if Landon Dickerson was at 43, would you like him even with the max signing, or do they prioritize other positions? I would love it, because I love Landon Dickerson. I think Landon Dickerson is arguably one of the best offensive linemen in this class. If you told me that the 49ers were going to draft Landon Dickerson or Quinn Miners at 43, the hive is buzzing. I'm hyped. I'm running around. If the 49ers draft Quinn at 43, you might see the belly. I might bring the belly out. I know you don't want to see it. You trust me, you're not going to want to see the belly. But if the 49ers bring Quinn Miners to the Bay Area, obviously a friend of the show, or a friend of the page, friend of my account and all that good stuff, that would be a lot of fun. But to speak about it more from getting away from the prospects, and I think just looking at it from a situation of positional value, the 49ers have obviously landed Trent Williams on a massive deal. He's locked in at left guard. Laken Tomlinson, or I said left tackle for Trent. Left guard is Laken Tomlinson. I don't think he's missed a game since he's been on the 49ers. He's been rock solid for us. I don't see the 49ers moving off him anytime soon. Rather, I would see a restructure coming for Laken to keep him here a little bit longer. Or a potential extension, because Laken has been fantastic for this team. And then you look at Alex Mack coming in to slot in at the center position. Although it's a massive get, and being able to have a veteran come in with that much knowledge from the center position to be able to make your proper reads and keys on the defense, to ensure blitz pickup is happening properly, to ensure the offensive line is sliding to the correct side, which is half the battle in of itself. That's huge. And then you're able to take Brunskill, put him at right guard where he should be able to thrive. And then you got McGlinchey. But again, looking at it from a kind of a positional value situation, Brunskill signed his tender. So, I mean, we're getting Brunskill for a steal. Absolute steal. I think we're paying Brunskill like $800K for next season. I mean, that's criminal. He's starting caliber offensive lineman, in my opinion. So that's criminal that we get a guy like that for that much. But then the question is, what does he get the following season? Then you look at Alex Mack. Well, he's 35, 36. Although he is one of the best and has been one of the best centers in the NFL in the last decade, do you still feel like you need to solidify the depth behind him? Now, me being an offensive line guy, I would have drafted an offensive lineman probably in the third or fourth round every single year that Kyle has been here. They've only taken 3 offensive linemen in total since they took over the 49ers, which is McGlinchey, Justin School, and Colton McKivitz. So I don't know. I've honestly not been able to like grab hold of the 49ers and be like, how do you guys scout offensive linemen, or how do you value offensive linemen? Like, I know they value the tackles. I know they value the center. With the guard, it's a little bit more confusing. Like, so for me personally, I would absolutely grab a Landon Dickerson, a Quinn Miners to be able to slot in as depth, because again, we saw what happened without, some certain players on the offense. It was tough. We saw our offense go through a lot of trials and tribulations because we didn't have a center. And with Brunskill, he did the best he could, slotting into a position that he never really played prior to the season. Again, you're having to learn how to snap. You have to be able to understand what the defensive front is showing you. You have to be able to understand to call out your protections to match what the defense is showing you to ensure that you're protecting it properly. And that's a lot of work before you even taking a snap. So I think it would make sense to bring in a guy of that caliber, but I wouldn't be shocked to see the 49ers kind of kick that can down the line and grab, you can find some other good offensive linemen. I'll always say this. You can find a starting offensive lineman in the third round of every single draft. Doesn't matter. You just have to know what you're looking for and know what you want. So that's how I kind of see it. I would love it if we got those 2 guys. Don't necessarily see it. I see them kind of kicking that can down the road and probably maybe selecting an O lineman 3rd, 4th, 5th, and so on. But again, they've only taken 3 offensive linemen since they've been here in 2017. So it's a really hard position to project for them. And the one time they took McGlinchey, we already had Trent Brown on the roster. So it was kind of like we've taken 2.5 linemen because it was kind of a lateral move. So we'll see what happens. But I think that's going to wrap it up for at least this current portion of the conversation. You could see me pop on live, maybe on Instagram or even on YouTube later tonight. But I did want to get on here and talk quarterbacks. And luckily, we had some quarterback news drop. So that was a lot of fun. I appreciate everyone, again, as always, who tunes in. I appreciate my YouTube folks hugely. Like, we went up like 70 or 80 subscribers in like the last hour. So again, I appreciate you guys. We're almost to 1,000. We're so close. We're so close to 1,000. So again, I appreciate everyone who shot me a sub. We're at 963 now. Let's go. My guys on IG Live, I see you from Germany. I appreciate all you guys. My IG fam, we're international. I appreciate you guys always. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter fam, this is new for us, but I think we're on to a good start. I'm really excited to see where everything's going to go from here on until the draft. Everything that I'm doing, we're doing with this channel is leading up until the draft. We're going to have a big draft show, all kinds of stuff planned. Oh, we're still going up on the subs. Let's go. My sub trackers in the chat. Appreciate you guys. We got Hawaii. We got, what was that? London. Oh, it's not London. The UK. Man, tripping. What's good? Mahalo, my guys. So again, appreciate everyone. Got Indiana in the building. Subscribe. My IG people always show me love. If you guys could go run over to YouTube, shoot me some subs. I love you for it. Again, love all you guys. We'll be back. We'll keep doing this stuff. We'll get some guests on here, all that good stuff. Again, appreciate all of you. Thank you very much.